Okay, so let's start with white and white's creatures. White has the second most amount of creatures of any color in the cube, obviously. So let's start with one drops and we'll just go up the mana curve. So we got Gideon's Lawkeeper, really really powerful. I think I actually picked this up in a draft. I didn't buy it. I just opened it in the draft, and it was an all star. And so yeah, good old tapper. I like Gideon's Lawkeeper as opposed to Gold Meadow Harrier or something like that. I just like the flavor of this. Gideon is a very iconic planeswalker, so that's why I chose this specific tapper. We got Sacred Cat. There's actually a lot of 1 mana 1/1s with lifelink that have other abilities. I just like this. I like the Embalm. I like having an extra token around. It's just I think this is just a super fun card. It's not like rock solid, always going to be in the cube forevermore, but it's one of my favorite early game lifelinkers. We've got Elite Vanguard. Yeah, good card. A Doom Traveler. Good with token sub theme. We've got Savannah Lions, which is, as people have been pointing out, the worst Savannah Lion. There's so many other better ones, but at common, we have this and Elite Vanguard. I wanted to make sure white's nice and aggressive. Thraben Inspector has continued to impress me. I think he's just great. We're getting to the 2 drops here. White Main Lion. So the white-blue theme is Flicker, so this fits in nicely. I just acquired this last night, actually, so super happy about this shiny with the watermark, and I'm a sucker for watermarks. Speaking of watermarks, we got Syndicate Ties. Good for the black-white kind of slow life drain, extort kind of theme. Also just a good bear. I'd totally run this in a Boros deck if I needed it, just an extra 2-drop. Bishop Soldier also has lifelink, kind of fits the same archetype of Orzhov. We've got Loyal Cathar, which is really, really good, not only just as an extra 2-drop, it's got Vigilance, which is kind of neat, but really the thing that sets this guy apart is that he flips into another 2/1, another 2-power creature, and it can't block, but again, you're not running this in an Orzhov colored deck, you're probably running this in more of an aggressive deck, but either way, it's just, this is 2 bodies in 1. I've actually seen people use this to sacrifice to an effect, and then they can just get it right back again, so no problem. There are a couple of edicts in the effects, so that's kind of... There are a lot of edict effects in the cube, and so this is nice to be able to sack something and you're not really losing anything on your aggressive push. We also got a Minstrel Charger, good old piker in the air. We got Fencing Ace, new edition. I'm not sure if this is going to stay in the cube. Hey, look at that. It's my camera. And it's me. What's up? Hold on. Hi. Okay. Sorry. That's going to bug me. Okay. These sleeves are nice and reflective. So yeah, Fencing Ace. I'm not sure if this is going to stay into the cube, but there are a fair amount of auras in the cube. I don't have a Bogles theme or anything, or an aura sub theme, but there are also a lot of pretty powerful equipments. So I want to see how he does, and if he doesn't do all right, then there's plenty of other common 2-drops that I might put in the slot, but let's test this guy out, see how he does. We've got Seeker of the Way, which is one of my favorites. I'm so happy that this got reprinted in Iconic Masters at Common. I already had some foils cooking around, but I did pick up a foil with the Common set, and if I can get a foil with the Common expansion symbol, that's just always a plus. Not that I mind, but it's just kind of nice. So Seeker of the Way is sweet. Gusty Dubs. I'm running this guy instead of Daring Skyjack, and I think at some point I will put in a Daring Skyjack and kind of compare how the two perform. But I really like Gustwalker or Dustwalker. Either way, I just prefer him. I like him a lot, but I do acknowledge I'm going to be doing some testing with Daring Skyjack as well. We got Core Skyfisher, another really important card in the Flicker archetype. We got our last 2-drop, which is Porcelain Legionnaire, and 3/1 with First Strike. This guy goes in so many cubes. I've seen him in powered cubes. I've seen him in peasant cubes. He's just absolutely awesome. I want to get him in foil, but he's like $8 foil, which is kind of unfortunate. But this guy's just a house. He's basically 2 mana and 2 life for this really aggressive creature. You don't even need to be running white for it, but I consider him to be a 2-drop. Going into the 3-drops, we've got Core Hookmaster. This is a grid flicker target because it freezes down a creature. Also just good in the aggro decks to be able to, you know, when they stabilize with some big dragon or whatever, or big creature, you can kind of just tap it down, keep punching away. We also got Basilica Guards for the Extort theme. We've got Attended Knight. This can go into Flicker or it can go into green-white tokens. Either way, it's actually quite good. Heck, I could even see this running in a white weenies deck as well. We got Aven Riftwatcher, mainly for the Flicker. You gain 2 life whenever it enters or leaves play, and it's got Vanishing 3. It also can get into some beats while it's still around. Core Sanctifiers is great because if you kick it, you can disenchant. Territorial Hammer Skull. This thing was such a beating in Ixalan. I still haven't seen it really shine in the cube yet, so we'll see how long it sticks in, but I like it so far. Talkrop Elite is good for any of the token themes, whether that's Boros tokens or Selesnya tokens. But when you exert it, it pumps your team up, and it's a flyer in and of itself, so... we also got Palace Sentinels. I'm testing this out right now instead of one of the flag bearers, the 4-mana flag bearer. I like this because it's card advantage against like control decks that don't have ways of actually dealing you damage, and so it's a great curve topper for like a white weenie strategy or any aggressive strategy. We got Paladin of the Bloodstain again, good in the Flicker deck, good in the tokens deck, and also really good in the Lifelink deck. So it's kind of a good all-rounder. We got Supply Line Cranes. Comes into play, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on something. Even if this is on an empty board, it's still a 3/5 flyer, and that's just really, really difficult to deal with. So I like Supply Line Cranes a lot. Custody Squire. This is something that is just a great value card. When I saw this first spoiled and saw that it was a common, I just lost my mind. You could just get something back from your graveyard, and it's just way, way good. And it's just a 3/3 flyer for 5, which is aight, but getting a card back is really, really great, especially late game. Dawnstrike Paladin, just a good old Vigilance Lifelink 2/4. Like I said, this is just really good in control decks. This is really good in the life gain deck. And then last is Noble Templar. I'm so happy I found an original foil for this. Not that it was expensive or spendy or that it was necessary, but I started playing around this time, and I loved Noble Templar. I remember seeing that 6 toughness. I was like, oh my gosh, this card is so good. It's still actually quite good. It's a really great way to just close out the game, and you can use it to plane cycle. And you can get it back with, not the Dawnstrike Paladin, you can get it back with Custody Squire late game. Anyways, fun card. I'm glad I have an old border foil. So now let's go on to the spells. Let's start with the instants. We've got good old Cloud Shift. My wife had a foil, so I put it in the cube. I actually now have a foil Cloud Shift and a foil Ghostly Flicker. So I think all of the cards that flicker in the cube are foiled out now. So really happy that the archetype is seeing some love. We've got a good old Raise the Alarm. This is just a really, really great spell, especially because it's an instant. We got Moment of Heroism. Great for lifelink, great for punching extra damage. Just a good old combat trick. Momentary Blink for the flickers. Otherworldly Journey for the flickers. I think I have a flickering problem, guys. Sandblast is a recent addition. I'm testing it out. 5 damage for 3 mana. Kills most things in the cube. And just a good way to get rid of the big threats. So I'm testing it out to see if it's good enough, or if I should just take this out for another enchantment removal, temporal isolation, pacifism, that kind of stuff. And then we've got, the last instant we have is Fortify. So I mentioned that there's kind of a go-wide strategy for Boros, and there's a token strategy, which is kind of similar in Selesnya. So this kind of fits in just right. It can protect your board from a Wrath by giving +2 defense, but more often than not, you're just going to be giving +2 power and swinging in for the game. So a good card in multiple archetypes. Now going to the sorceries, we've got Fragment Ties. I might swap this out for Disenchant, but it seems that most of my artifacts are cheap enough that you can just blow up with Fragment Ties, and it's just nice that it's nice and cheap in 1 mana. Sunlance is a really good way of burning your opponent's creatures and getting some more damage. We've got Queen's Commission. I've actually been waffling on what 3 mana get 2 1/1s spell. I think I had Hive Stirrings in there at one time, but I'm putting in Queen's Commission because I wanted to give a bit more love to the Orzhov deck. Angelic Purge gets rid of a lot of things, and it exiles them, which is relevant. There's still a lot of cool things you can do with the graveyard. And you got to sacrifice a permanent, but because there's a lot of white strategies that have tokens, this shouldn't be all that difficult. And when I played this in Shadows over Innistrad, I was fine sometimes sacking extra lands that I had for Angelic Purge. So I like this nice, flexible removal. Doesn't get rid of Planeswalkers, but hey, it's Pauper Cube, so we don't care about Planeswalkers. So it gets rid of anything that we really care about. We got Battle Screech. I finally decided to disassemble a deck that had 4 of these in there and put a Battle Screech in the cube. Previously, this was Sen's Enlistment, but this is just, let's be fair. This is Lingering Souls in Pauper, right? So I'm glad to have this in the cube. I think that the token decks haven't been drafted as well, and I think I just need to put in some spicier token generators. And so that's what Battle Screech is for. We got Iona's Judgement, which is so pretty! And it's kind of expensive, but it does exile a creature or an enchantment. I'm running this in for now. Again, this is one of the cards that if it doesn't really pan out and removal isn't good enough, I'll probably just put in another more typical enchantment removal. I already have Journey to Nowhere, but there's others. We got Triplicate Spirits, another great token generator. Going into enchantments, we've got Cartouche of Solidarity. This is one of the few cycles I have in the cube. I didn't want to be bound by cycles, but the whole cycle is actually really, really sweet. So I decided to put in the whole cycle. Good for tokens, good for pumping up your dudes, and it's only 1 mana. It's fantastic. Again, like I mentioned, there's some edict effects, so this protects against that too. We've got Go to Jail. So this is another thing I'm testing out. I feel like this is not only quite an effective card more often than not, but also one of my favorite parts about Go to Jail is how fun it is. Like, when you throw it on their big dude, is it going to be gone for a turn? Is it going to be gone for 5? Like, you just don't know. And so I really like this. I'm really all in favor of like making a really cool, efficient cube, but also still putting in some fun cards that keep people off kilter. So this is that. If Super Duper Death Ray from Unstable was Pauper legal, I would totally run that too. But unfortunately it's not. Anyways, I like to just put a nice little silver border card to keep people on edge. Bonds of Faith was actually something I just put in. And it's pacifism, but if you put it onto a human, it gets +2/+2. And so there's 13 humans, I believe, in my cube. At least in white. There might be some others in other colors, but there's 13 humans in white, and so I thought Bonds of Faith is just a really, really good pacifism. Speaking of, I still just want to run pacifism anyways. I kind of want to run both, just to make sure that all the white decks have a good removal. Journey to Nowhere is also good removal. We got an Oblivion Ring, and then we have Arrest. So that is it for white cards. Next we'll go to blue cards. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.